Folks, we are live. Welcome to the Random Party Generator. Believe it or not, you are being serenaded in the background by a local karaoke party. My Filipino neighbors are enjoying the cold Christmas weekend with karaoke. So we're not supplying the music. We're not supplying a soundtrack, but if you hear one that's off key, these aren't cats or dogs that are being harmed. These are people in talks singing in their natural voices.
Now, is Rachel going to join in again like she was
She's
doing on
not
the
around.
pregame here?
No. She's
No,
on.
no.
Yeah, she's on the treadmill. She's not.
All
I
right.
can't do. Oh my god, it's much louder to my ears than it is to your ears, and then probably thank God for that. But
Well, you started saying if you hear horrible singing, I'm like, is he going to get in trouble with Rach? Is he that stupid? Did he have that much to drink tonight?
no. If you
He's
hear
going to put
good
his foot
singing,
that far down his mouth?
if you hear good singing, it's rage.
Yeah, she does sing well.
However,
That's why I was wondering where the hell you going with this, man. You're going to get fucked
no,
over for no reason.
no. But if you hear the background noise, people are. This is, Queens, the borough of Queens in New York City is kind of like suburban, but closer. So if your neighbors are having a party in an adjacent backyard, you might as well be having a party in yours without the alcohol, because you're going to hear it all.
I remember, your house is pretty. It's like, have you guys ever seen All in the Family back in the day? How the houses were next to each other, like do all the way down the street. Well, you do live in Queens, right?
Yeah.
And somewhere in the Queens. So yeah, I mean, that's the gist.
So Rob has something to show.
Uh-oh.
No. I'm just
Yeah, he's
preparing.
getting it ready.
He's preparing to share a screen.
Yeah, so this house is attached on one side, and the alleyway between the other side and the other house, it's too narrow to have a modern car go through it.
Yeah, I think I would have to grease my whole body up in butter to fit through that. I remember that. I remember the glance.
Yeah, so it's just you better love your neighbor. Over here. I'm afraid to even identify the song this woman's singing right now. Her voice is better than the rest, but that's not saying much. I should introduce my co-host for the night, Rob Conley, Mr. Bat in the attic, and the devil himself, but not bad Mike. Instead, now we're talking Joe the lawyer.
Amen. Hello. And it's funny that I got Asmodeus going on. I've been binging Lucifer lately. That old Netflix. Well, it started off on regular TV. Then
Yeah.
Remember that show? I enjoyed it.
That's
It's been a few years. I
series.
really enjoyed it. I know it's based on that Neil Gaiman book. I've never been a big Neil Gaiman fan, and it's loosely adapted. But it's really, really entertaining, I think. Do you guys remember the campaign when it got canceled off of the CW or wherever the hell channel it was on? And all of a sudden, it was There was the time that Netflix had all their shit pulled from them by all these guys are starting up their own streaming services, right? And so everybody was like, please, Netflix, please save Lucifer. And the whole hashtag Save Lucifer trended. Everybody was talking Save Lucifer. It was Netflix was one of their first big coups. And they pulled it off. I remember even William Shatner himself was like, I don't know what the hell I'm saying this for. I don't know what it means, but save Lucifer. And he actually he put it out there. Yeah. Back then, I was following all these people who were on the series and social media. And I remember the actor, Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer. He goes, thank you, Captain. In my head, I heard the British accent,
The last network series that I binge watched, and then I finally I think I must have gotten to like season 5, and then I was like, I can't anymore because I feel like I've watched the same show repeating itself.
Yeah,
was The Blacklist.
I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it.
Yeah, because like around season like 3 or 4, you begin to hate the main character because she becomes a C word.
Is an idiot.
And you're like, so now I don't even like the main character that was supposed to be likable.
Yeah, I agree. I watched it through, and I got to like the 6th season where he killed. Remember when the Blacklist dude with the top hat over he killed that old woman who was his assistant. He took her into the woods and blew her away when she didn't die. Spoiler alert. That's when I tapped out because I'm like, it just doesn't fit. It reminded me of Lost. Remember how Lost just spun out of control? And I was like, no, this ain't going nowhere good. And I just stopped watching.
I watched Lost, and then about like halfway through the first season, I said to myself, you know what? this is going to be one of those series where everybody says it's good because nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
nobody wants to be that person where goes,
I was that person.
Dude, I think it's shit because I can't figure it out.
Yep.
I was that person going, it's shit and not worth my time.
Well, what I realized early on, I watched 2 seasons, and after the second season, when all the fucking smoke tentacles and all that shit were coming, I was like, they're never going to tie this together. I've been a DM for too long. I realize that you've lost the thread of your campaign. This is never going to be tied together ever in a way that makes any sense. And I just stopped watching it. And I canceled cable around the same time because I moved. And then what I would do is there was some website at the time, 20 years ago, right, that had an actual word by word. Some lunatic was such a fan that he typed out word by word the entire transcript of the whole series. So once I got that, I started reading the transcripts, and once you skip the flashback parts, which are always stupid as shit to me anyway. All I cared about was what's going on the island and does it make any sense. I could blow through the transcript in like 4 or 5 minutes, right? And I realized after like the 3rd or 4th season, I'm like, I was proven right. This bullshit ain't going anywhere. It's a bad campaign. And the funny thing was the asshole who got so much fame on that, right? What the hell is his name? Was it Joss Whedon? No, it's the other guy, I think, right? It was the guy who ruined Star Trek, the new Star Trek movies and all that.
J.
Abrams. Yeah, that son of a bitch. He leveraged the bullshit about Lost and his mystery box theory of you just another mystery box. You just open up another mystery box. It doesn't have to be explained. Yes, it does, asshole. And that's why you can't put out shit that makes any sense. And I don't know. He failed his way to the goddamn top. It's the perfect example of Peter Principle, except in Hollywood, you can't fail. The worse you fail, the further you go. Rant over, boys and girls. Hello.
Sorry, I just got PM something, and I'm like looking at this.
Something good?
I wouldn't even. It's newsworthy, but I have no idea how to even.
Oh, do tell.
No.
Tell. I mean, that's the good
Well,
part.
I've been watching the latest season for All Mankind, and what was that guy who did Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica?
I know the guy. I forget, dude. Bergman?
No,
I forget. I'm bad on names, especially the more older I get, the more rum in me. I'm bad on names, so I don't know.
I was bad on names when I was like.
Yeah, Ronald Moore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that series just keeps getting better and better.
I started watching the new season of Reacher came out.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, dude, it's really good. I'm enjoying the crap out of that. The new episode came out tonight.
Oh, we already watched it this afternoon.
Did you? Yeah. I'm watching my brother, my nephew, so we're enjoying it. It's like a little bonding thing when it comes down. We blew through the first 3, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Another one that's surprisingly good on Apple TV is Monarch: The Legacy of Monsters.
I don't have Apple TV.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have that. I only subscribe
Godzilla,
to that.
You know how all the recent American Godzilla films are tied together?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a TV series, but unlike the most of the Marvel series, it doesn't suck.
Yeah. Well,
or it's not mediocre like most of the Marvel TV series.
I can't believe you're admitting something sucks, Rob. You get to watch paint dry. That was not bad. I got to say that had points to that show.
Secret Invasion was a wasted opportunity, but most of the Marvel series are just mediocre. They tell a story that could be made into like a movie.
Yeah, but they want to stretch it out for more money.
Stretch it out, and it's like
Yep. And they have all this source material in the comics, but they don't have anybody who really gets it. The whole thing with the big super whiz producer there who got it all going. What the hell's his name? That shit, I forget. But the guy who was in charge of Marvel for the entire time, the big wig there, in terms of the Marvel.
Kevin Feige. I think they get it. They just had a bad plan.
They didn't have a plan, Rob. They didn't have a plan for these last. I mean, the first 3 he did. He drew upon the comics and people with knowledge. But this last one, they admitted they didn't have a plan. The only reason they picked Kang was he got such a good reception during the Loki thing. How do you start with Loki and all the other shit without having the main bad guy in mind yet? How does that even happen? But he admitted it. Oh, Kang was good, so let's pick him. Well, you should have vetted him.
I remember when before Loki premiered, they had a plan, and there was the Avengers, the Kang Dynasty was up there on the thing.
No, Rob, he admitted. They've admitted in the news, Rob, that until Kang premiered on Loki, that actor who did it so well that's when they said, all right, he's going to be the bad guy for this whole thing. You know, that's when it came down, and
I don't know. I'm gonna have to see proof of that, Joe. I
I know
mean,
you will, of course. I'll give you the spreadsheet later.
it
But
was
yeah,
obvious. It was obvious from that after Endgame, or after actually Spider-Man not far from home, No Way Home. Uh, the multiverse was going to be the deal.
oh yeah, the multiverse, but not Kang. Kang as the villain. The multiverse was the thing, but not Kang as the villain. They solidified in on
I
Kang.
disagree.
I know, but I'm always right. So, yeah. But I think that what you're seeing it with the comics, they're not drawing upon their knowledge of all the comics for the last 60 years, right?
Right.
And nobody's writing any new comics. What I'm seeing with the comics now, and I've never been a big comic guy, but I've been following the whole industry thing lately and seeing what's going on. What they're doing is that they're getting these random ass authors who just come in with no background in comics, no idea what superhero stories are all about, right? They just don't understand it all. And they go in there thinking that comics are an opportunity to write basically a storyboard for a movie. You know what I mean? That's all they're looking at a comic as a storyboard for a movie. I think that's really it. That's really all it is. You know, it's a goddamn shame. But they have no background. They have no bench. They've gotten rid of everybody who was good because toxic, all that bullshit, right?
Well, what they forget is, and these are the comic books that I grew up on: Green Lantern, Green Arrow, right? The Neil
Yeah,
Adams stories that
yeah.
were dealing with drug abuse and all that stuff. And Speedy was on speed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And when I was in college, the John Burns run on Action Comics and Superman, where you introduced the lesbian character as I think the police commissioner, and was hitting topics that were a little, risque for the time.
Yeah.
And it was about character building. It wasn't about the superhero. The superhero was window dressing. There was characterization going on. There was storytelling going
Yeah.
on,
Yep.
and the super heroics were generally incidental to the story that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of I don't know if you want to blame it on the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the few glimpses of comic books that I have seen recently suck because they're all about the flash in your face. Another lazy artist doing another full page
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
2-page spread as opposed to dealing with panels and telling a story. So I can go and I can grab, like, when comic books go on sale in PDF or digital format, CBD format, whatever, on Humble Bundle and stuff, and they're the classic stuff. Classic
Mm-hmm.
meaning going back about 20 years or so. I snag them because
Yeah.
I know I'll enjoy reading them on my iPad, but I don't want to read the new stuff. And I haven't looked at the independent stuff. Independent stuff would be things like The Walking Dead, which
Yeah.
was successful because it went back to telling a story as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just being a lot of flash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've never been a comic
I haven't read much in the way of comics recently, but back in the day, I had two time periods where I was a big comic fan. One was when I was in elementary school in the early '70s, and the other I hit basically the early '80s college, and I got in just as Crisis on Infinite Earth hit, and everything DC was good. I've always been a DC fan, and I got to tell you though, guys, I believe you that comics are piss poor right now, but back in the '60s and '70s and even prior. But DC comics weren't nothing to. They were fun to my age, being in elementary school, but they weren't. Let's just say they were not the height of literature at the time.
No. At that point,
yeah.
when we were really young, Marvel
Mm-hmm.
Comics was mostly telling the real stories. I came in with the DC explosion, all right, as a kid. When comic books went to 50 cents, and then after 3 months, they realized, oh, we can't sustain this. So we're going to lower the prices to 40 cents, and we're going to get rid of pages from stories that were already written and drawn out. And our fans will never realize that we cut out 4 pages in the middle that's no longer there because we had but it's still a price increase from the 35 cents it was before the explosion. It was a hell of a time though to come into to comic collecting because you were getting artists like George Perez that were, you were getting the next generation after Neil Adams, and then with Marvel, it exploded with McFarlane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really took it to a different level. That guy.
But the thing about, I never really cared for Marvel because it was just like reading Marvel to me was like reading a goddamn soap opera, where I
Yeah.
wanted, 4-color heroic. But then it seemed to me, around the Crisis on Infinite Earths time, DC struck a good balance between storytelling and the usual 4-color stuff, and Marvel just crawled up its asshole and they started navel gazing, and then it recovered, and then they started battling each other, and then after I got out of college, I didn't follow it much more, and I only bought 1 or 2 graphic novels that I saw that were really good uh, storylines, like The Killing Joke and a few others here and there. And then
The
when the
Dark
comic,
Knight was was that point I think where DC realized, holy cow, we can do comics that are aimed more at adults, and holy shit, they're gonna sell, and I'll make our other shit sell too.
I was never into comics growing up. It was honestly, God, it was too expensive, and plus, it wasn't a thing. I would like cartoons. I would watch it on, the Super Friends and all that shit.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that was really my only experience with comics growing up. Was in the morning, it's Saturday morning cartoons. It was, that was it. All those superheroes, and that's my only experience with them. I just never got into it. I mean, we would even we had, believe it or not, in this town near where I lived in Connecticut, was the third comics. There was Marvel, there was DC, there was this tiny little shithole Charlton Press place, right? And that was in my town. And they just did knockoffs. They did knockoff comics of they had their own version of everyone, Superman, Aquaman, whatever. They had their own knockoff comics of everybody. And they were just shit quality paper, shit quality stories and all that. And they were like 10 cents. And even when I was, broke kid with a paper route, and I'd rather spend my money on a Kit Kat or a peanut butter cup than buy these 10-cent shithole comics that were just mere shitty, crappy replacements for the real ones,
I know I like Superman. I like Legion of Superheroes. Um, I like the Flash. I like the Justice League.
Yeah, I was a Green Lantern fan. That was my thing. So John Miller has a question. Since we're talking about comic books right now, and good one. Has anyone read or played Ascendant or Talk Superhero RPG? I own it. I've read it. I think I actually got a peek at a pre-release from Alex when he was working on it, and I have a history of not liking superhero RPGs. I know people love everyone has their own, right? Like I love villains and vigilantes.
Video games forever, champions forever.
V and V sucked. Okay, Marvel superheroes I didn't care about. DC's Mayfair's DC heroes was way too complicated for me to make heads or tails of. Ascendant seems to hit that soft spot where I could actually, if I put the time into it, learn the system. I just don't. I'd play in it, but to actually run it, I don't. I don't have the mindset to run superhero games. I don't get excited about running. I get excited about running a fantasy RPG, regardless of the rule set. Often, that's fun because I can imagine how I want how my group might go. Wherever I want, they're not going to fucking do.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. But the reality is, I enjoy that experience, and I could do
even
that
when they tell you they're going to do something a week before. They're going to go this certain route, and the fucking DM preps for the campaign going that certain route. And then the next week, when certain Greg Christopher, the motherfucker, doesn't show up, the party says, "Well, we're going a different route now," and you just fuck the DM over. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Trust me, I know.
I don't know. I ran after when I was in college. I ran Champions, Fastest Star Trek, the role-playing game, and Champions became my go-to system, and when Fantasy Heroes, I dumped AD&D 1E like hot potatoes, and that became my major break from running D&D. Now, Fantasy Hero unfortunately had too much of his champion DNA in it, so it was just a tad, basically a player when a player threw a guy through a brick wall in a tavern. That was the beginning and the end of running Fantasy Hero campaign. But soon after we discovered GURPS, and that's what we stuck with for a while. But no, Champions is my go-to superhero. I still have all the stuff up there. I'm not going to go and yank it out, but I still have all my campaign notes, and I actually ran in the middle of the 2010. At a local game store, I ran a Champions campaign. The finale of that was pretty neat. My youngest son, was into Bionicles, so I asked his permission to use all his Bionicle robots. So I had 25 millimeter Champions figures, but I said his Bionicles were to scale. So the final battle took place on the moon, and they were defeating a alien invading hordes and of giant robots, and that was a hell of a fight and a big spectacle to set up at the game store.
The only thing I ever played in RPG terms, believe it or not, was actually Zach Smith ran us in a game of some superheroes. And I was playing the Hulk, and it was a fun game. But I realized it just wasn't my kind of thing. It's not my game. So I'm like, God, the hell with it. I just won't do it.
Right.
It's fun, I guess. If
Oh, you
like
won't
that
do
sort of thing.
Traveler. You won't do anything but Fantasy, Joe. So.
Exactly. I won't do any sci-fi. I mean, I'll try everything once. So I tried Greg's. We ran an Alien game for us. I'm like, yeah, all right, but it's not what I like. I like swords and wizards. I like fireballs and chopping heads off. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well, the Aliens game actually played pretty well and pretty fast. I wouldn't mind seeing a fantasy version of that rule set. I'm sure there's one out there. I just haven't figured out which one it is. Because the system.
They have a fantasy version.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe it's wait a minute. It's Aliens Free League.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was.
It's a
Free
year
League.
zero. They do have a year zero.
All right.
The RPG.
All right, because the system kind of fell to the background, which was nice.
It's a good DM though. Greg knew the system well.
Yeah,
we didn't need to know it. That's how it fell to the background.
Yeah, true. Greg is one of those. I was that way when I was like 30 years younger. I could pick up a system and learn it.
Yeah. Well, he's 12 years younger than most of us, ain't he?
Yeah.
So.
Eric, the one you want to get is Forbidden Lands.
Okay.
That's it. That's the year zero fantasy RPG.
Naughty. I love TSR's take on a Marvel superheroes from the 80s. If Wanty could have gotten rights to them and put them on drive-thru, I would gobble them up. You're never going to see that come back.
You can gobble them up now. There's like a whole site with everything. Plus, some people never gave up on that system.
Right. It's phase rip, right? So that's basically been turned into an open system. So if you like the system, phase rip is out there. You can buy games for it.
And it's not even one of those wink wink nudge pirate site. It just outright supports the system, and you can download the original rule books and supplements. Yeah. Like Star Frontiers was a few years back. There was a Star Wars. Now they had semi-official permission to do that, but and then they had to take it down once TSR or Wizards started selling Star Frontier stuff on drive-thru.
I don't think Wizards are buying anything anytime soon. In fact, I don't know, not too many people. I don't think you mentioned this, Eric. That Atkinson post on Twitter, I think it was. Like many of you, I'm saddened to learn about the layoffs at Hasbro. Caveat, I have no idea what's happening behind the scenes at Wizards. If you ask who's at fault or to what extent it was or was not justified, that's outside the scope of my knowledge. This post is about my own reflections. And now here's the next sentence is where I thought it was really interesting. When I read about the layoffs at Hasbro, my immediate feeling was shame. Shame for when I did the same thing at the same company, parentheses, Wizards of the Coast, before we sold it to Hasbro. I wonder if he was dropping a hint that he might think that Wizards is trying to sell D&D at some point soon.
I don't think so.
No.
And I'll tell you why. They're rebooting the system this
Mm-hmm.
spring.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means systems generally have about a 5-year lifespan
Yeah.
historically. So, if they're doing anything with the system, and they're not going to sell the IP, what you would at most see Wizards do, because remember the IP has value for Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the D&D
Yeah.
IP at use.
Yeah.
Even the movie, future movies, TV shows, whatever. But would they license the rights to I don't know, the RPG? Well, Games Workshop does that, right? You've seen how many reboots now of Warhammer Fantasy
Warhammer.
World?
Yeah, but they only did that after the miniature side thing exploded so crazily that the RPG couldn't even hold a candle to it.
Which
D
right,
and D 5e is not in that situation right now.
right. Well, I'm
It
not
could
saying
be,
I'm
but
not
not right
saying it
now.
is. It is. That's why I'm saying like they're rebooting this whole thing. They got this VTT. Now remember, if anybody's coming in and they're going to want to buy the rights to publish the D&D RPG, and that would also mean giving up D&D Beyond and the VTT.
Mm-hmm.
You don't split it. And they got a lot. They've hired hundreds of programmers for their VTT. They've invested a lot of money. They are not going to just give that up at the wink and a nod.
I don't think they'll do it now. I don't think they're planning on doing it anytime soon, but I think they're trying to get lean and mean so that if I could see it happening that let's say the first year the VTT comes out, what is it supposed to do at this summer, right? So this summer it rolls out, right? In some limited capacity, most likely. And they're going to get their subscriber base and they're going to declare it a grand triumph, right? And that in a year after that would be the time to sell.
Well, but here's the
Well,
thing.
maybe Joe, what they're divesting themselves is not what D&D. Maybe Hasbro is going to become the Magic the Gathering D&D company, essentially become Wizards, and they sell off their toy
Never,
division.
Right.
never.
No,
That'll
no,
never happen. That's
no,
steady income, Rob.
no, it isn't.
You don't
No, it
think?
isn't. No,
Not well. I think
toy
the board
division is
games
not
are.
steady. The
The
toy
board
division,
games are not
no,
the toys, but the board
the
games.
well, the toys,
Mm-hmm.
the Transformers, and everything from the toys,
Yeah.
the Transformers movies. Here's the issue. All right, and this is why we're seeing Wizards of the Coast transition.
Shit movies.
No, kids aren't playing with dolls anymore. Kids aren't playing
Yeah.
with action figures.
Yeah.
Adults are collecting them,
Mm-hmm.
but the kids aren't playing with them. The kids are playing video games. The kids are playing
Yeah.
computer games. The kids are playing games on their tablets, their phones.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not
reality.
right.
Yeah.
So the money isn't there anymore, and that's why Wizards of the Coast, I believe, is looking to transition from Dead Tree to going as digital as they can.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I don't see Wizards is making them money. You don't sell off the one division that's solid profit and increasing its market share.
I didn't say Wizards. I said D&D.
That's D&D.
No, Wizards is big at Magic the Gathering.
No. D&D is still too successful and it's profitable. They have so many. Look, E1 was so unprofitable. They sold it for what? 13 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
They bought it for like $4 million. They sold it for half.
Yeah, 4 billion.
4 billion. They sold it for $500 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think D&D might be. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
I,
what happens in a couple of years.
I
don't know. I mean, D&D, I think at last heard brings in a third of Wizards' very lucrative revenue for Hasbro. So I don't think they're going to act something just because it only brings in a third.
Right. I mean, listen, there are a lot of gamers that would love to see Wizards let D&D go because everybody's like, oh, well, a real company like Paizo or Kobo will pick it up. These companies can't afford that. If they sold
there's
it,
no way.
If they sold it, guess who it goes to?
Some other out of the country company.
It's going to go to the investors that are looking to make a quick return on their money,
selling off assets.
Dump it again.
Yeah.
Or they're going to piecemeal it.
Chop it up.
So it's going to go to the hedge funds.
Yeah.
It's not going to go to a gaming company. No gaming company that any of us know about, look at, and play their games of can afford it.
Yeah.
Okay. It is literally the 10,000-pound gorilla in a room with a bunch of monkeys.
It's a sad
mean,
thing.
You
It
know,
really is a sad goddamn thing, you know. I tell you, because what it could be versus what it's come down to. This company, it's Jesus, so much
but again,
potential.
We look, guys.
successful for them.
The wizards that brought out D&D 4E was nothing like the wizard that brought out D&D 5E.
No, because they've had too many purges in the meantime.
Yeah,
Huh?
They've had
So,
too many purges.
yeah. So basically, they can still reinvent themselves. But we're gonna be in a down cycle.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that the whole VTT is going to not land. It's going to be only adequate. It's not going to go like Game Buster, especially. I mean, it's going to be hot for a little bit, but then people will run up against its limitations, and it's just going to be adequate.
If it's good, it just has to be good enough. I guess I should say. You know, that's what I'm trying to get at. It just should just be good enough, and then it keeps people involved. It depends on what tools they give people, DMs, to create their own thing. You know, I really think that's what it's going to come down to. How
I
much
don't
can
think.
I
I
tinker?
think it's going to fall flat on the tools department.
I probably will.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
then
a
by
matter
that,
of what it
okay,
comes
to
out
be
with.
clear, by flat, I mean even if it's customizable, because it's based in 3D, it would be so difficult to develop for. Because I've seen this with this is what happened with Neverwinter Night. The same thing. The 3D, it's just what stymies people.
Yeah.
And then to make this anything new 3D to work with the system, it's going to require programming
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be worse than trying to come up with a Fantasy Ground module.
I'm talking about just being able to modify a map or upload your own maps or your adventures or your own monsters, shit like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
If they can't pull that off, they're going to be screwed.
Oh, they'll give you some customization of the map, but it won't be anything like being able to, take a picture with your phone or
Yeah.
scan in a
Yeah.
drawing that you have, or download somebody's
Yep.
neat battle map and upload it.
Well, Esteban nailed it, I think, honestly, from my days back in the corporate universe, when he says the VTT may make some money, but it won't make the money Hasbro needs it to make. That's exactly right. I remember I crushed it in sales. I was the best rep in the whole company for the whole country. And then the next year, you did so good then. We're going to give you a bigger goal this year, motherfucker. So I'm like, they give me a bigger goal to hit, right? And I was crushing it still, but it wasn't good enough, right? And so this is what happens when they set their goals, and if you don't produce that goal, no matter how good you do, you have to reach their goals, right? And my whole unit, my whole region, because we did so well the year before, they said we're going to dump a bigger goal on you than the rest of the country. We all got screwed, right? You could have made a lot more money for them, but they just didn't. They didn't give us the freedom to do it, and they just set the unrealistic goal for us. I was like, all right, you're lost, buddy. Hasbro has a goal. If Wizards doesn't meet Hasbro's goals, then heads will roll. We don't know what their goal is.
We do know what their goal is, right?
Money
the goal
wise?
is for D&D to be $1 billion brand.
Oh, yeah.
We know that, but you know what? They also know they're dealing with headwinds. So if the whole company is not doing well, but D&D and WotC are doing better than the rest of Hasbro, although WotC's got downsized, and I'm going to point out something that I don't think others have pointed out, but when we saw names pop up on social media and all that stuff, we saw names, big names from D&D Beyond, right? D&D Beyond, their portal, their digital portal. People were senior people got lost. What division at WotC did we not see people get lost from or get fired from?
VTT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard, this is going back at least 6 months, that the D&D Beyond and the VTT are different branches within or divisions within WotC.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't play well together. They need to play well together. And the reason why they don't play well together is each one wants to be the dominant part. Well, I think we can guess the VTT is going to be dominant because their leadership heads weren't rolling.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a sign right there that
who's winning the internal battle.
Yeah. We don't see anything being talked about that, but that's a sign. Now, Just to take us off this topic for a second, John B., do you know what is the name of the monster on the first edition Player's Handbook is?
Which version, buddy?
Lizard Man. The only monster on the first edition Player's Handbook.
Oh, there's two
Bunch of
first
dead-
edition players handbooks, right?
Right, you got the original, and then you got the
there is-
orange spine.
There's a gargoyle fighting a wizard, it looks like, on the newer version. And then there's the statue being looted, plucking the eyes out.
Right.
On the other
But there's
version.
they had a bunch of, the party just killed a bunch of lizard men and they hauling in the bodies.
Looks like it, yeah. It looks like there's a dead lizard man or something reptilian definitely laying on or it might be a snake. I don't know. There's a lot of coiling going on there.
So speaking of colors, and before I forget, could you just show the what I'm sharing right now?
I will show it with sharing.
All right.
Why is it not showing? All right. Hold on, Rob. Hold on.
Do I need to reshare it? No?
Yeah, try send it. Maybe it was sitting in the box too long. I have no idea. Let's try it again. It was sitting in the box.
I know why. I know
Never stay in the box too long.
All right. So present, share screen.
It's like being in a penalty box in hockey.
All right, try that, Eric.
There we go.
Aha. There is Rob. Recognize that dude drawing a map there?
That was
somebody else.
I asked Richard about it. He doesn't have a picture of me. That's totally coincidence.
My ass. Either it might have been some subconscious or something, but that's completely you.
Except
for those of you who don't know, Richard Luschek is hold on, let me Richard Luschek is he does all the Harn illustration these days, and he's been doing it for like 15 years, 20 years now, and I've been commissioning my cover pieces off of him, and that's the latest. That's the one that's going to go on how to make a fantasy sandbox.
It's not bad, man. Not bad.
No, it looks really good. He didn't get the gray hairs proper in your head, but
he was a younger Rob version.
That's because he wasn't drawing me. So
he was subconsciously. That's completely you. All we need is a bat up there hanging around from the rafters or something.
There is a bat.
Is it a live bat hanging from the rafters? Oh, look at that!
There you go.
Nice. I like. Very cool, man.
Yeah,
very cool.
He put my little Bat in the Attic logo in there.
Nice.
Very cool.
I was looking at EM World. I noticed an interesting little poll they did here. When did you last buy Wizards of the Coast D&D 5e product, not third party or DM Guild? Right. So in other words, when did you just buy a physical product from Wizards that was 5e related? In 2023, 53% of EM World, and there are a bunch of Wizards tools essentially, right? A bunch of followers. So 2023, 53% did, which I figured would be a lot higher than that. 2022, 16%. 2021, 5%. 2025, 2019, 5%.
Well,
so they started getting
Saltmarsh.
Yeah, they started getting their drop off around. I mean, it hit big time. COVID didn't even get a kick up for I think everybody went digital, and so half of the people haven't bought a product on EN World who haven't bought a 5e product in the year 2023. That's interesting.
Well, I have been told, Mike and our sources have told us
I like your
that
sources.
WotC is sitting on a warehouse full of unsold books, not core books.
Not core?
Not core, but the accessory books. Core tends to sell,
but
that's what they're sitting on. So how much longer do you think we will have the DMs Guild?
I don't know.
You will never lose the DMs Guild, with one caveat to that. Doesn't mean that the DMs Guild is going to stay at Roll 20 / Drive-Thru-RPG. I don't see how it can when there's a competing VTT coming out from WotC, and they would let another competing VTT run the DMs Guild. Now, that being said, we don't know what the contract is or the terms of it. That it might be that it's got to be there for another 2 years, but I can guarantee you, if they cannot move it over to their own or something, they'll have something like the DM's warehouse or some shit like that, because one thing that again, something else that people have forgotten about the OGL scandal. What when we had the OGL fiasco last year, what was one of the things that a lot of people were talking about? The morality
Mm-hmm.
clause, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a big thing to use our product. We want this
Mm-hmm.
morality clause, and now they've already said we're giving away the 5e SRD. It's under Creative Commons. You do with it as you will. We're not worried about that. We're worried about our new 5e.
Yeah.
If you're going to be writing underneath whatever their banner is for their third party content for their fans or whatever, there I can guarantee you I'll put a month of my pension down as a bet that they are going to have a morality clause as part of that because
Mm-hmm.
it was important enough to have in its OGL. It's going to be important enough for them to have for you to license your product to sell through their storefront, and they're going to be taking a chunk of your money. So, and they're going to probably have the first publishing rights of putting your stuff into one of their official products. But it's going to be
Eric, I think you're
yeah.
the morality clause. You're probably more than half right on that.
Okay.
But that is not going to be the biggest shitstorm that they could potentially fuck up in this.
Oh,
So
of course not.
right now, so everybody understands that when you publish on one of these community content programs like D&D, DM's Guild, that your work has to stay there. You cannot take that work and sell it elsewhere. And most
Right.
people accept that as an acceptable trade-off. But what most people don't realize, there's also a clause in the license agreement that you agree to that you can't make a derivative work off of your own work. So if you
Well, that
just
way, and
use,
take that derivative outside the environment. You can make a derivative within
yeah,
their closed garden, but if you wanted to take just I'm going to give it plain language for the folks at home. If Rob Conley said, "Hey, I want to do a 5e version of this, and it's going to be within their closed community wall," then he can't come out and say, "I want to do a Swords and Wizardry version," because you've put it into that closed environment and it's stuck there forever, and you can't bring it or a simulacrum of it out. It
even
is
if I
stuck.
own, if even if I don't use anything from the Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, or any of the setting, I come up with my own character, my own little village map. It's trapped there. So what does this mean, though? I'm not making this point to complain about that, even though I have in the past. The point is, so a lot of these artists, they're like thousands. We're not talking a small number here.
Mhm.
We're talking about thousands of contributors, and there are a lot of adamantine, mithril, platinum level sellers on these. If Wizards does not make sure that their work is transferred over to the new platform, you're going to have a lot of people losing a lot of money and going to be losing access to their not just their money aspect, but the creative content so they can build on. A lot of people with a huge portfolio on the DM's Guild, it's going to cause a major shitstorm.
Oh,
That's my prediction. If they don't handle that part right, they're
that's
going to turn thousands against them.
that's actually a huge one, and I'll be
Do
honest
they
with you,
care?
folks. Do they care? I think I'm going to say this: they will care because they want those products selling their new rule set. Now, why is that important? Remember, the new D&D Forever, 5e Forever, is fully backwards compatible because they saw how
Mm.
Pathfinder 2 was not compatible with Pathfinder 1. They saw how that landed like a lead brick,
Yeah.
right? So they don't want to repeat that mistake. They're going to want to move that market over. Now, I don't know how easily that's going to be because I suspect right now Watsy is realizing that this is going to be an issue. It might become that there's again, I don't know the licensing. The license might be something that has to run for a certain term. They might do their own. They might be competing against themselves to some extent but they want people on their VTT. They're gonna want you on their D&D Beyond, I don't know, third party storefront, and it's going to be weird. It's got a lot of potentiality to
Yeah.
really screw up with unintended consequences the creative side.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I wonder if they give a shit, or the fact that if they haven't thought through it, they don't give a shit. And I wonder if beyond that, maybe they have thought through it and they said, we don't give a shit. I
Well,
wonder if
we
they just
talked
want all the
about
marbles.
that. It's not a question of giving a shit. They view that they have a new target audience they're trying to get, but they're trying. And my point when that was, they want to fire the current audience, not so much in a negative way, but more like, okay, it's been 10 years now. That's a whole generation of video gamers, and we need to target this new generation of video game. The only thing I'd say about that, they have not proven themselves to be competent manufacturers of video games.
No,
So I don't see them appealing to this new generation.
Yeah.
And
We'll
that's
see.
it. Baldur's Gate 3 is hugely successful, right? But they licensed it. They're getting money from every sale, and they're hoping that those Baldur's Gate 3 gamers, just a portion of them, transfer over to the VTT, which is why they got to make it all bells and whistles as opposed to substance, because bells and whistles are what, like my son, when I used to play games on Roll20 or even Fantasy Grounds when he was younger, and he'd go, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing D&D, or I'm playing whatever." I always play D&D. He goes, "Well, that's not graphical."
Yeah.
That's what the young generation wants.
To tell you, I know a guy I was 36, 37, you know, a kid who was like 21. And he was recently out of high school, and I was a D&D geek. And I said to him, "You guys in high school, you still play? Does anybody play? Does the geeks play?" He goes, "Honestly, no. This is like 06, right?" And it gives you an idea of the time frame here. And he says the only people who played, pen and paper video, D&D or any game, pen and paper like that, were always the poor kids who couldn't afford whatever Xbox subscriptions to whatever games, all this stuff. Only the poor people was his thing. And I wonder if that thing is just carried over. Like, how much of a stigma is it? I know they got a rejuvenated the whole scene when COVID, and before that 5e was the cool thing. But I think that 5e is the cool thing. Like millennials started collecting old vinyl records was the cool thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think it was more
still
that way.
collecting vinyl records, Joe. They reignited the vinyl record market.
But Rob, it's
never going to beat digital download. But
that's my point. That's my point. It's a fad. It's a thing, right? And so, like for example, I know a woman I work with. She's 38, and she went to her friend's house to play D&D as a thing, just like people used to go to their friend's house and play poker or play Monopoly. You know what I mean? She went there to play as a thing. There might have been one book at the table, and they didn't understand it, but they played D&D, and they considered themselves to be a D&D player or a gamer. And these people, once this fad goes and the next fad comes around, I think it's just going to, go the wayside with this whole generation.
Oh, see, that's the thing. You know what? They're not going to have is the fad. The sales level will reduce, but it won't collapse because you know why, Joe? Because they figured out how to revitalize it in the first place. They didn't revitalize it because it was a fad. They revitalized because somebody figured out how to manufacture vinyl records on a pretty low budget.
Well, I'm talking about D&D, Rob. What I'm talking about is D&D. It's
the same with D&D. How much does it cost for any of us to come out with a full color, full-fledged rule book? It's not that much compared.
I'm talking about Wizards of the Coast D&D brand Dungeons and Dragons. I think that my point is that this generation who picked it up as a thing to do, but because it was cool, is like the generation that when we started playing Jenga, and that lasted a few years. Who plays Jenga anymore? You know what I mean? There's these things that come and go, and it's just I think it's going to go. I think it's on the downslope. I think a lot of people are just going to drop it.
But Joe, you just. So what? I mean, what there's a but what will happen as a result?
It's not going to make as much money, and they won't transition over to the digital VTT because they're casual
what will
players.
Happen after that?
Because then D&D won't make as much money on the VTT. That's the whole point.
But Joe,
what does it mean for the hobby?
if D&D doesn't make as much money as they need to on the VTT, if they don't meet the goals, like the guy said earlier, that
Right.
might be a problem for the hobby because they might have to sell it off, splinter it, or whatever.
But
D&D is the big thing that lifts the whole
here's the
hobby.
thing, though. Going digital, right, and putting their eggs in the digital basket
Mhm.
allows them to lower one very important cost, and that is the cost of printing, maintaining,
Developing.
shipping, storing physical products.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that the core books will remain in print, and I think that like something like Beetle and Grimm will probably put out special editions of everything for collectors.
Mhm.
So everybody wants their physical, you can get it and watch. He makes a nice profit on it. But by not having physical product, they are willing to do two things. They are willing to give up some of that physical tabletop presence, but also they are saying right now, their survey showed, right? If you have a gaming group of 6 people, how many
Mhm.
people are spending money?
The DM and maybe 1 or 2 players.
Maybe 1 or 2 players.
Yeah.
If you're moving it to a VTT and everyone has D&D Beyond and everyone has a VTT and everyone is paying a subscription, even when they're not playing. And what
Mhm.
happens with a lot of these subscriptions, by the way, in general? You subscribe and then you stop. Oh, yeah. I'm not. I have a 3-month gap, which becomes a 3-year gap. You're still paying for the subscription. They're willing to lose market share.
Yeah.
They're willing to shrink their customer base
Yeah, exactly.
to get more paying customers.
Mhm. Yeah, and if they're going to lose us. They're going to
Undermonetized is what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to lose us as a group. We're not going to go there, right? I think a chunk of the millennials are going to be lost, and they're praying and hoping that they get their Baldur's Gate crowd over there. If they get the Baldur's Gate crowd over, if the number one, number two, the second point of failure is that the VTT's got to be good enough. So first you got to sell it, then you got to provide a good product. Number three, the third breaking point of this whole VTT that I don't know if people are addressing it yet. They're already talking about a DM shortage. Now you got a DM. You're bringing DMs from a format that they're used to, maybe in person or something else, and you're hoping they go there because without DMs, guess what? You got no fucking players,
Well,
right?
that's where AI will come into
Right.
play.
Oh
And
yeah,
Boomfire
eventually.
is a very good question,
Yeah,
which we are actually got a few more minutes before we do the drawing. I said 9 o'clock. It's not quite.
yeah.
So, Boomflyer, is there any indication that Hasbro is working on their AI for their VTT? I think if it's done right, most people would find that experience irresistible.
Yeah.
Guess what? There is a third party that is working with Hasbro to bring AI to its board games of anything. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yep.
Once you've got the board games running with AI, next step would be an AI DM.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do behind the scenes programming to make it seem like AI where it really isn't AI. It's running a script and all that stuff. And I suspect a lot of
It's a term
whatever.
of art, Eric, that when you play in single player and you're playing against an opponent, the algorithms that govern the opponent is called the AI.
All right. But what they're talking about like the Chat GPT.
Yeah, that's what
AI.
you guys are talking about. They're not talking
Right.
about the
They're,
shit behind the
they're
scenes.
talking about the next generation of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. They're talking about Snoop Dogg coming out of your Facebook and telling you about how they're going to DM for you. DM Snoop, right? Or GM Snoop.
Could you imagine? You sell a skin. Snoop could license a skin of himself for the D&D VTT where he's your fucking DM. Could you imagine something like that? Jesus Christ. Tom Hanks could be the DM. Matt Mercer could for $6 trillion could license a skin of himself on the VTT to be your DM. I mean, holy crap, man.
All right. It's 9 o'clock, so we're going to give away some OSR Christmas gifts.
Mm-hmm.
As we do, I am going to put a banner up on the screen real quick. Glenn Hallstrom's wife runs a site called Blue Rooster. Blue Rooster sells a couple of spices, I believe paprika, garlic. The garlic is amazing. I use it whenever I need garlic. It tastes like fresh garlic, even though it's dehydrated garlic. Onion powder, and there's one other which escapes my mind right now. But they are 75% off through the end of the year, and free shipping. So I'm leaving that link up on the screen. We make no money off it. It does help Glenn and his wife out, but it's good stuff. I just ordered a huge stocking stuff for myself and Rach because goes into all my dressings and all my dishes when I'm cooking. I love the onion and the garlic, and I got stuff I can do with the paprika. So, all right, now we're gonna pull for the first gift. It is a bundle of BX game options, volumes 1 through 12 from The Naughty Works. I believe that's the Naughty Professor. I'm just saying. I believe. Oh my God, the karaoke is just insane. And there are multiple ones singing off key right now. Oh my God. I feel sorry for any cats that are outside. All right. Oh, I got to actually, before I do this, right? I got to put that screen up. Holy crap. Rob, I'm not as like organized as you are. Damn it. All right. All right. The drawing. We got 21 entries in there. And I was wondering if it would pick up stuff from Joe's server, and I think it did, which is cool. Naughty, you can't win your own stuff, right? I mean, this is you, Naughty. I do believe.
It wants to go home.
All right. I'm gonna work on the assumption that maybe Naughty isn't Naughty, but I am sure. So we're gonna move on to the next prize. We will re-roll this if necessary. All right.
Naughty said try it again.
All right. So we're gonna read this. This is again going for Naughty's bundle. Oh, that sounds disgusting. Going for Naughty's bundle. Big money, big money, big money. No whammies, and no Naughty. Tabletop Tap Room. Tom, you know how to get in touch with me. All right. Our next one up is a bundle of Wizard Funk in PDF from the Dice Bros. It's a zine for the OSR. If you hadn't figured that part out yet.
A box of Wizard Funk. What'd you say?
It's not. It's a bundle of Wizard Funk, but it's digital funk.
Funk.
Funk. Wizard Funk. Yes.
Oh, I know this thing of gamers funk, but
it's Wizard Funk. RPG Grandma. Email me at, I think you already have for another prize, but 10cars.tavern@gmail.com. I'll put the email address up later. Also, from the Dice Bros, OSR stickers and Barrel Maze patches. This will ship worldwide, so I don't have to restrict anybody saying if you're not from the States, you can't get this one. It's physical. It'll ship anywhere. And if Joe wins it, well, if Joe wins it, he gets.
I haven't seen my name pop up yet.
I just did. I just saw. I saw Joe the
did you? Okay.
Yep. Rhino Dino, 1973. Again, email me 10cars.tavern@gmail.com. A PDF copy of Holmes and Clark, which is a fantasy OSR heartbreaker. Actually looks pretty good. I've flipped through the digital pages. Let's draw. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, there's my name. I saw it.
Thraxis, email me. Two more. We got a lot of gifts. James Mishler Games. If you don't know who James is, he's Kelsey over at Shadow Dark. Basically, in my old job, we would have called him her rabbi. He brought her into gaming. He was her first game master DM. So that's why she runs 5e like with an old school type of mindset. And that's how Shadow Dark came to be. James was also probably Rob's maybe Rob's
he was my compatriot in the whole Wildlands side.
Yes. Amazing guy. So
yes, that's good work.
I'm gonna back this out just real quick. All right. Start collecting comments. So 12 PDFs from James Mishler and for Shadow Dark plus the Isle of Elsador for Labyrinth Lord, Colin Anderson.
Nice.
Email me. And now last, certainly not least, $10 RPG. RPG now doesn't exist anymore. Drive-through RPG gift certificate supplied from the tavern due to the community shopping through the affiliate links here and on the blog side. And of course, I wrote down no names, so just tell me what prize you're getting, and I'll have to go back and look at the video and just double.
Oh,
Rob,
Roll
Rob!
again. Roll again. I had a very successful Kickstarter this year.
All right, we're gonna roll again. Yeah, we're gonna call you Jen Glazer now. We're gonna call you Jen winning other John Miller.
there you
John.
Also, make another roll. I'll throw in a coupon for my Majestic Fantasy RPG for the hardback.
Oh, that's an
At cost. It'll be an at cost.
At cost. That's a nice one. All right, folks.
So you got to pay your own shipping, basically. That's about it, right?
Well, you got to pay your shipping and the cost of the item, which isn't that much.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'll tell you.
It's and shipping. I think is $4.50 if you go through, from drive-through. I want to see RPG Now. I miss RPG Now. All right, Rob's generosity goes to the Reluctant Hireling.
Nice.
Again, unless you have Rob on social media, email me. I'm gonna put it up. Hold on. I'm gonna put up the email address, which is around here somewhere. Here we go. I'm gonna put up the email address. Email me at 10cards.tavern@gmail.com. It is the holiday weekend. I will try to get to this stuff tomorrow.
You got plans this weekend or something? What are you talking about?
Oh my God!
In the interest of transparency, the cost would be $10.75 plus whatever the shipping is. So that's the.
It's well worth it. Oh my God! So congrats to everyone.
Speaking of stuff coming out, I got notice of my Shadow Dark shipped.
Oh yeah, I got the same notice.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll do an unboxing.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited about that. Now, actually, you know what? You remind me. I gotta put.
It's a lot of books coming.
My gift from Rach to me was the Kindle Scribe.
Nice.
And I gotta say that I've had Kindles in the past, and I like my iPad for PDFs. But one thing the iPad does not do very well is as you're lying in bed like this, it gets really fucking heavy. So this is a sample page. Oh my God. God damn it.
Kill the background, dude.
I know, I gotta kill the background. Hold on. I'm gonna kill the background.
Favor, Eric, this is something I couldn't see when you were talking about. Could you grab
a
blank piece of paper and hold it up next to it so we can get a sense of size?
I'll give you some size. All right, blank piece.
You're saying size matters, right?
Here. Loose leaf paper. It's a 10-inch screen, so
it's only a little bit smaller. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
So, digest size PDFs look great. Greg's Dragon Slayer.
Now I have a Paperwhite. I have a Kindle Paperwhite, and any of my digest size PDF, like Kelsey's Shadow Dark, comes up crystal clear on it.
Yeah, this is a larger than the Paperwhite. And here, hold on a second. I'll take the pen out, and I didn't realize that I zoomed in. All right, so I'm gonna zoom out on the page and go. Let's see. Rob is hot because I know Joe will take a shot of that. Rob is or not. Rob is not.
Rob is not.
Yeah, Rob is not. So you can actually mark.
Thank you, Universe, for forestalling that comment by Eric.
Yes. So
you went into your brain and altered the quantum relays to produce not.
Yeah. So you can actually mark up your PDFs on a Kindle, which is really sweet. And again, the weights are so much better. Again, I love my iPad, and it's very convenient, but it's not convenient to read in bed next to my wife, right? Because that screen is bright, even when it isn't. The screen is.
You got to clarify. What are you, Mormon? Next to my wife, Rach.
Next to my.
You got multiple ones or something? What are you, Mormon?
I don't sleep on my wife. Just so everybody knows, I sleep next to my wife, and like the old movies, I keep one foot on the floor at all times.
Oh yeah.
Just to make sure. I'm not sure if I'm
What-
doing.
what
No,
was-
this is
or-
broken. I had it
That's fine.
replaced, but this is a paperwhite.
Oh yeah, I
And
think
this is so even though it's smaller than digest size, the digest size book the screen on this is such high what they call PPI, points per inch.
Oh yeah, the contrast definition.
It's just crystal clear. And when this broke, it was out of warranty, but I immediately went and bought another one. I can't live without it. And I have this really nice leather cover on it that
Uh,
I
St.
just love it.
Cuthbert.
One of the
I've
first
been
things, just as a weird little side
yeah,
side note here, you mentioned 1 foot on the floor, blah blah blah, the
right.
old school. One of the very first shows that had the couple sleeping in bed was the Brady Bunch, in the same bed. That was one of the first shows that had a couple in bed together.
Oh,
Yeah, Mary Kay and Johnny technically were the first couple. Blah blah blah. I'm looking it up right
Right.
now just to see if I was right, but yeah, Ricky and Lucy, different beds.
Uh, Jeez, St. Cuthbert. Do you go to Con the Cob in Ohio in October? I've never been to Con the Cob. I've been to Game Hole, which seems to run around the same time.
Rob's been there.
I've been there several times.
I've heard good things about it. But my issue is right now I am probably one con I fly to a year, and the rest are drivable. I think the farthest I'm going to be driving this year will be WizardCon in Michigan.
Come
This
on,
summer.
Eric. It's only 8 hours from you.
What, Con on the Cob?
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's a drive,
8
man.
hours. Only 8 hours.
Yeah, it's 8 hours to you, Rob. How
Yeah.
many hours from you is it?
Oh, how many hours is from me? It's an hour and a half from me.
All right, so we're talking about 9.5, 10 hours because I don't speed like Rob. Joking. I speed like Rob, but I'm just saying.
You
Well,
speed
for
like a
you,
guy
it's a
who has a
straight shot
badge.
across I-80 across Pennsylvania. I have to go down 79 and then get on 80.
But
Go to Akron.
like I used to go to a game hole yearly, but the last 2 years we've had things come up. Like this year, Rachel's health issue with her breast cancer. With 2 weeks of radiation. I'm saying we because I have to go to all these appointments because I'm the driver. But she's got 2 weeks down. She's good spirits, no real pain.
Good.
Thank you, God. But next
Excellent news.
con we're doing is going to be TotalCon in
February?
Massachusetts. Yeah, in February.
Well, what about that? Did you on Facebook, Eric? Did you get all those advertisements for that Philly con?
Oh God. Well, yes, I've been getting that. But when you say advertisements, it's just you've been mentioned. Yeah, everyone in the group fucking mentioned. Actually, we were going to go before this whole thing started coming up with Rachel's health, and then we're like, let's hold off on getting any hotels for anything until we know what's going on. And it's right in the middle of Rachel's treatment, so we're not.
Yeah,
we're
Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo.
not, when Rachel was like, she goes, it's in Philly. I go, yeah, but you get to go with somebody who can actually carry. What's wrong with Philly? We'll do a run for cheesesteaks in the worst neighborhood. One of the ones that have guys carrying AK-47s doing security work.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that video, and know that you're going to get some really great cheesesteaks, and I can talk shop. Come on, what more do you need? Yeah, how does the print edition of Shadow Dark look? I know it's I got the it's been mailed notification, and then when you click on the tracking notification, it didn't have nothing. But I know I should have it probably right after Christmas.
I got mine yesterday. They slapped a label on it, I'm thinking, and then it doesn't hit the post office. That's when it gets into the system. You know what I mean? I think
Right.
that's probably how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. The Arcane Library. Because mine include, and for some reason, I'm getting 2 copies of the Cursed Scroll number 3. I don't know if I ordered
Really?
one. Yeah, it's supposed to be with 2. Shadow Dark Monsters, Shadow Dark 12 characters, Premium Shadow Dark RPG core rules, 5 adventures, the Shadow Dark RPG GM screen, the core rules. Oh, I got the premium, and I must have
I went all in
really.
too.
I went
Damn it.
all in too. So I got 2 copies of the rules.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to give one of those away at a convention.
Really?
Yeah, I'll keep the premium. I'll give away the hardcore. Actually, since I am running the fantasy trip at North Texas, and maybe I'll run Shadow Dark at North Texas, and I'll give away a copy of the rules for somebody. And
So
then
I'm sharing something that I found because we were talking about action figures
uh-huh.
earlier. So if you could share that.
Oh, by the way, my package is in Trenton, New Jersey. It
Wow,
was
you tracked
received.
it. Well, let me check now. Now I gotta look. Shit.
Yeah.
Trend is pretty close, dude. I mean,
Yeah, I
shit.
know. I mean, it's still gonna take a week, but yeah. Okay, hold
Oh
on.
yeah, at the holiday. I mean, Christ. I got the.
Oh my God, this is the GI Joe with the action grip.
This is what I grew up with. I
Yeah.
had, and I remember this exact.
Oh shit.
I went on Facebook to look up that Philly Expo, and then this popped up on my feed, and I remember this exact ad.
I'm in Trenton as well. Look at that, man.
I had the deep sea diver set.
I had the Jeep. I broke
Uh,
it.
oh, I had this middle secret agent set.
I didn't have
Uh,
that.
yeah, I had that. Let's see, I had the bearded Joe there. I had the orange head Joe.
Okay, I got a question. How come the black man is the only one without an afro?
You mean the only one? He has an afro. You just can't see it.
Oh,
He has
okay. I
the,
thought that was
he has the
painted
same
on.
hairstyle as the other
That's
one.
the other guys. So
Yeah.
now, if you grew up in that age and you had GI Joe with the kung fu grip,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the
the
fingers would fall
durability
off.
of those
Yeah,
suck.
the fingers would come off after like a little too much playing. But and this just tells you the time. This is the time that the people on your screen grew up on or at during. My GI Joes, I would take into the wading pool in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like 3 of them, right? And I after a few times in the wading pool, um, the hair would start falling out.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
in
You know what?
patches.
You know
In
what
patches.
my secret? You know what my secret was?
What?
My grandparents, for some reason, had an older Joe from the early '60s, late '50s that had
Uh,
painted hair. So, but he didn't. They didn't have the body. So
oh, so you
I
swapped the
popped
head.
the head off of one of my regular Joes, and I would put that on, and that's when my parents had cottages by Conneaut Lake, and so when I went into the lake with a deep sea diver, or let's see, they don't have the submarine listed. Oh yeah, with the dangers of the depth adventure, I didn't have to worry about the hair of my Joe falling off.
Well,
God, look at these prices. I had the training center. I had the mobile support vehicle. I didn't have the helicopter. I
oh,
didn't have the Fivercat.
my GI Joes, their hair fell out in patches,
Yep,
and
the little bald
I
spot.
it was random patches that would just fall out. And of course, me and my infinite wisdom, again, a child of the 70s, it's radiation poisoning.
Ah, nice.
They've
Nice.
Yeah.
got radiation poisoning. That's why their hair is falling out in patches. I must have been like 9 or 10, if that. But my GI Joes had radiation poisoning, and that was okay because they were doing the work of a soldier and were exposed to like Russian radiation or whatever. I this new generation doesn't know jack or shit about bomb drills at school.
Wow. Did you
Now,
guys have those too?
oh my
Get
god!
under your
I
desk.
never had a bomb drill, but
Oh, we had
nuclear
the bomb
nuclear weapons
drills.
were definitely on our mind back in the day.
Yeah, we had the bomb drills, and you had to go in.
Yep.
It was under your desk,
Under your desk.
or they would. We had an older school, and they would bring you into the hallway.
Yeah, with the
in
fallout
bet-
shelter sign, right?
right
Oh,
Yeah.
but
in
we had
between the
those.
fire doors. I was like,
Yeah.
oh Jesus!
Yeah, I remember going to various buildings and seeing the fallout shelter, and I knew what it was. Yeah, this is interesting. This thing down here. Whoops, why am I? This down here.
Mhm.
it's attached to the back of the helmet here, and you would blow into it. And but I was by a lake, so I could, the safe swimming area that we have went out to 5 foot deep, and I needed longer tubes, so my grandparents made me, got these clear tubes and replaced the black tubes with them. But then I learned why you don't have 5 foot long snorkel. That was my less science lesson in underwater pressure, because I sunk that thing down 5 feet, tried to blow into it, and my little 8 year old lungs could not make it go
Hmm.
one bit.
Wow.
I had to drag it all the way back to where it's about only 3 or 2 feet deep, and then I can start blowing bubbles in it and make the deep.
What were some of your guys' favorite toys growing up? What were you into?
My GI Joe, my Star Trek action figures.
Yeah.
Matt
With
Mason. I
blue,
was a fan of Matt Mason.
yeah, with the blue lasers.
Mm-hmm.
I had Kirk and I had Kirk, Scotty,
Mm-hmm.
and the Klingon, and my friend Kenny had Spock and McCoy. And I
Mm.
always felt I had the cooler ones, but he had the more scientific ones. He's a doctor now, so I guess it all worked out.
By the
worked
same
out.
company who made the Star Trek figures, I had Superman, Batman, Robin, Green Arrow, and Aquaman.
Oh, I had the Aquaman figure from Kenner. I believe that was when I was. It was either Kenner or Playmates, but I think it was Kenner at the
No,
time.
it wasn't Kenner. I mean, was it 8 inches?
Actually, no. I think he was smaller than 8. I think it was a 5-incher.
Okay, then much easier, because the ones I had would have been dressed with like your Star Trek figure with
Yeah.
actual
Oh
clothes.
no! This guy had painted on clothes.
I think
Um,
my favorite was those. I don't know who made them. I didn't, but we had the Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman. All the Batman. The
Right.
little. I mean, because when you're a kid, you run around. I mean, if you held it, it means you were that character in whatever thing your group was doing, right? And so if you had the doll of Superman, you could be Superman. And he had Superman, and then the other kid had the Hulk, and the one guy had Spider-Man. It didn't matter. You're out there playing in a fucking yard. As long as you held the doll, you were the guy who was that guy.
Yep. Yep.
that was pretty much it. Micronauts.
Yeah, I
Love.
loved the
Oh,
Micronauts.
I had some Micronauts, not as many as I would have liked, but I had some. And Star Wars. I was
kept my
just
Micronauts.
young enough to get all the Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I kept my Micronauts until my 20s, but then the inner rubber band
Oh.
deteriorated and they started falling apart into pieces.
All right, everybody can mark off your bingo cards, but I still have. These are. I have some that are newer, but these are the ones that survive from.
You got Micronauts?
No, these start. These are
Oh, okay.
These are from
Look at that.
these are from the initial
Star
release.
Wars.
Now they're missing lightsabers and capes, and Han Solo doesn't have his gun.
right.
But these 4 guys are
That's
the
cool, man.
survivors.
Wow.
That's
And
cool.
and for some reason, I liberated this from probably one of my kids who didn't take care of it. That's a newer 3CPO, but yeah.
My brother had a lot of
I
those.
managed to preserve these and managed to keep them together, and then now they sit up on my shelf of geek.
That's cool. My brother had a lot of those, but then we got this dog from a dude who the fucking dog chewed them all up. I think the only thing I survived was Chewbacca, ironically. Everything else got
Chewie
chewed
got
up.
chewed on, but everything else got destroyed.
Chewie got chewed up.
So when my mother passed away, she had this one of her cabinets had all these games in it, mostly Yahtzee, traditional game. But for some reason, she had this vintage package of Vegas dice, never been opened.
Wow.
Vegas dice.
Vegas dice.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah, this was
Vegas dice
50 cents.
are legal, I guess, in Vegas, or they're balanced in theory. But
Yeah, and this was from 1972.
wow.
So it's
All
never
right,
been
so
opened.
so my bestest toy from that era was my Space 1999
I had that too.
chip, where you could take. Oh wait, we'll leave the body behind. Just take the
Yeah, the
cabinet.
lander thing or
Capsule.
something. Yep.
So it was great. I think I had it for about Well, I don't know actually how long I had it for, because what I did was I decided that what always happened on Space 1999, right? Crash landings,
Yeah.
right? You always had crash landings, but you always landed on the moon, right? And these moon landings were soft. So I said, well, what's soft? Snow. So I took the whole thing, and they're going to crash, and I threw them off my back porch.
Mm.
Only problem was it was snow that had turned to ice. So
Ah.
when it hit,
Oh
the whole
man.
center part split into like 3 chunks.
Oh
And
no!
then, of
Sucks,
course,
dude.
my father tried to use Elmer's glue to glue it back together.
Yeah.
You know, as far as those cheap plastic toys that they were putting out, that Space 1999 model wasn't. The figures were crap, but the actual Eagle was pretty nice.
Here's
And
the
the
thing.
doors flipped open, and you can put your figures in there.
Yep. Yeah.
Here's something I know you guys would be able to tell me because we all have this memory. What is the thing that went on your list for Santa Claus every fucking year that you never got? For me, it was Stretch Armstrong. How about you guys?
There was a GI Joe set that had a Mercury space capsule that I
Ah.
wanted, and
Mm.
I think my mom got it one year, and I wanted it ever since I found it in my mom's closet
Mm.
for Christmas. But it was meant for one of our relatives' kids,
Ah.
and it was one of the few times that I put that kind of tantrum up.
Yeah.
And but I never got one. I got a lot of other stuff, and some more expensive than that. I think they just didn't make it anymore because it was Mercury, and
Uh,
they moved on. They moved on from
Mm.
the Space Joes into the Adventure Team.
Well, my brother, ironically, for years, like 4 or 5 years, I wanted fucking Stretch Armstrong. Every list, top of the list, I figured the number one position on my Santa list would have to be the Santa would have to deliver this goddamn thing, right? And this went from the era of before I believed it, when I still believed in Santa, to after I didn't, and still didn't get it. But my brother got Stretch Monster. He didn't even ask for it. I'm like, the fuck, Years later, like, ma, whatever. What happened? Oh, we're busy. Whatever. Who the hell
Now
knows?
I had an interesting 12-incher called Bullet Man.
Oh, so many
He had
jokes
a
around that.
red suit with a silver bullet cap, and his suit had these little eyelets on it that you can run a string. So the whole idea is you would stretch a string across your room, and one end higher than the other, and you put Bullet Man on. You thread Bullet Man through the string, and then you just throw him down the string, and he would fly.
Mm.
And they had a paper target that you could aim for. Very weird toy.
I love matchboxes too. There was
oh,
many a year I wrote down, what do you want? And I write out every matchbox in the world. I
yeah.
remember writing literally those words.
And the thing is, the Matchbox cars at that time when we were kids were different from the Hot Wheels cars. They were
Oh
made
yeah,
in
they were better. They were
they were
better.
made in England.
Mm. I didn't
If
know
you
that.
got the ones that I would get ones at the hairdresser that were more expensive, but they came in a box,
Mm.
and it was awesome. And then as an adult, I went back. I'm like going through Walmart, going, "Hey, that looks like one of the ones I had as a kid." And it's like, oh, it's all plastic shit from Hot Wheels now.
Yeah.
Even the Matchbox is from the same company, Mattel.
Really?
Yeah, it's all the same now.
Ah, that's too bad. The
I was
matchboxes
never a
were the
fan of
shit.
Matchbox or Hot Wheels.
I used to use my cat as a parking garage. She was very tolerant of me driving my cars on her. She was like,
What? Your cat? What?
my cat. I would park all my cars on my cat, and she would just patiently look at she just look right, and she'd look at me, and this is my oh my god, my cat from when I was a kid until I think she passed when I was 20.
Wow.
And oh yeah, Misty was one of those very rare animals who loved kids,
Mm.
tolerated them, and one time I pissed her off. I don't know what the hell I did, but it deserved it and pissed off. And occasionally she would swat me with no claws.
Yeah, yeah.
This time she had one claw out and hooked the corner of my eye.
Holy shit, dude.
She pulled it just until I went, "Ugh!" And then she let it go, and then swatted me across the nose and walked off. I went, all right, I'm not doing that shit again. She's like, I could have taken your eye out, kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Taking your eye out. I
Don't
did.
tempt me. Don't tempt me. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. So Mark was talking about the $6 million action
Oh,
figure.
I love that. Yeah. If you were Steve Austin,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had that too. You could look through the
Yep.
back of his head through his
Mm-hmm.
bionic eye.
Mhm.
Who was the one? There was an action figure that was very similar to that, but it wasn't Steve Action, who had a bionic eye, which just meant that he had a piece of clear plastic that you could,
Yeah.
yeah, and he had a chopper that he would hold in one hand. He also had kung fu grip. I had this thing until his hands fell off. Did you again? The kung fu grip was a great concept, but it was never kid tested because you wound up losing. It's like I didn't have stories when my GI Joes had no fingers. It's like, oh well, they must have grabbed a grenade or it was a landmine. I don't know. I was like bad enough they were losing their head or radiation. I didn't know how to justify
This guy's a mess.
hand
Jesus
hand
Christ.
pulling. How are they holding their guns? They've got
See,
no fingers.
kids today, if you give them a toy like that, this weak, wimpy ass generation, you give them a
Oh
toy
my
where the
God,
hair
they
falls
were-
out and the arm falls out. They're in therapy for 5 years. They wouldn't be able to handle that shit.
They gave me this kung fu grip GI Joe, and
No,
and
Joe,
the
that doesn't
fingers came
happen.
off in
They
my
they,
hand.
they would just be indifferent.
No, they would be the younger one. They cry. They get lawsuits. The hand fell out. Now he has nightmares about hands. I'm going to sue your company. But they're a bunch of wimps. They can't handle it. And the kung fu grip, they wouldn't do it a kung fu grip because that'd be cultural appropriation or something too.
Oh
So
yeah,
they wouldn't
kids
do a
would.
kung fu grip. It'd
Well,
be the
well,
universal grip or some nonsense.
the rubber grip. Oh wait a
Mm,
second, that sounds like a prophylactic. Can't call it
yeah,
the rubber grip.
yeah. Stretch
Just call it the
Armstrong, yeah.
grip.
RPG grandma knows Stretch Armstrong was the shit, man. I always wanted a Shogun Warrior. The kid next door had one. Shit, yeah, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was a fun
His
one.
name was Mastertron, Eric.
Okay. Wow, I never would have gotten that one right. But I do remember. I think I traded for that one.
Yeah, he had an interchangeable face, and he was the enemy of Steve Austin in the figure line.
Oh, that makes sense now. Because I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't the $6 million. I think I traded for that. We did that. We did that.
What was
Traded.
Steve Austin's outfit in the figure line? What remember what it was?
Wasn't it like khaki shorts and like a jungle shirt?
Nope, it was a red jumpsuit. Actually, a red tracksuit. Remember that?
Oh Jesus! Now I
Remember
remember. Yeah.
tracksuits?
Well, you got to dress good for the track, Rob. When you're playing the ponies. Oh, not that kind of a track. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to work on my Dr. Fauci.
I had Tinker Toys. I had Tinker Toys at my grandparents. I enjoyed
Lincoln Logs.
Oh, I loved Lincoln Logs. Yeah.
I didn't like to compare to Tinker Toys. And there's this
Erector sets.
There was this one that had plastic girders and you snap panels on
Girders and panels. It's a lot of fun. Building. Gotta get it done.
Did
Girders
not like
and panels.
Erector set.
You
Did not
just sing
like
a song.
Lincoln Logs.
What was that? Was that?
You just sang an Erector song. What was this?
No, girders and panels. Girders and panels. It's a lot of fun. Building, got to get it done.
No, dude. If we're singing songs, if we're
I
singing
had the
toy
airport
songs.
set. You don't understand. I had the airport set. Still shared a bedroom with my sister because she was still a toddler, and I had to build this on the ground. And every time she got up, she walked through my fucking airport. and it's like I got my girders and panels.
I can show. I found the girdles and panels. Let me see if I can show it.
Yeah, I remember.
There we go. There are the girdles and panels.
Yep.
Oh, that's vaguely familiar. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you what.
it was very neat. I mean, obviously, it only makes things rectangular, but you really felt you were building something, and you had your choice of what to build.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, though. If you're gonna sing a song, I think we all know this one. It's slinky, for fun. It's a wonderful. That was the most viral earbug song ever, man.
Loner and pairs and makes a slinkity sound.
Mm-hmm.
A thing, a marvelous thing.
Wow, you got the whole fucking thing down, dude.
Slinky. Oh my God! Listen, if you were a slinky aficionado, you could only have a metal Slinky.
Oh
If
yeah.
you went for the plastic Slinky, and they always like, oh, my Slinky's rainbow. Your Slinky sucks. Okay, it's plastic. It doesn't slink. It goes. I want the one that goes. It goes down the stairs. Mine would go down like 4 stairs and then just not up and and when they nodded, they were done. Yeah, never got your Slinky was done. Once you got it slightly twisted, no more
Oh
Slinky.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're screwed. Once you bent it, and this never goes back to place. Because if you get it twisted, you always, without fail, will bend one of the little things there and trying to untwist it. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And then you're screwed. It never runs right. Never runs right.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Yes. That was a fun time. You knocked my
Yeah, that was
block
fun.
off.
That was
You
fun.
knocked my block off. I never had it, but I had a couple of
I
friends
just
that
realized. I just remembered. So me and a friend in the neighborhood had a lot of Joes, and what we did was almost like role playing. We didn't have dice. We didn't even conceive of using dice, but we had adventures, and we had like this continuing story between the adventures. And so when I started playing now that I recall, not when I started uh, playing D&D, it was very natural for me to be a
makes
dungeon master.
sense. All right, here I'm going to bring up another toy from the past. Now, we all looked at comic books back in those days, and if we didn't always buy them, you remember those like ads in the back. Now,
Oh, I had one of those.
now, the one that got me, the one that I was always like, because it was one for the toy soldiers, because I had like the I had the legit toy soldiers, and those little
Army
poses.
men. Yeah, we call them army
Yeah.
men. Yeah,
But
yeah.
here you could get like 100 for like $1. I was like, oh my god, I gotta get mom, I gotta order that. I gotta get my
Eric, I ordered the Romans.
All right. Now they were 2-dimensional, if I recall.
Yes, they are very,
Yeah.
very two-dimensional.
I was like,
I
I remember getting them. I was like, what the? I can't use this. So they were the first ones that I started experimenting with when it came to magnifying glasses, burning them,
Mhm.
and blowing them up with firecrackers.
Oh yeah, firecrackers were fun to blow shit up with, man.
I actually
They were
managed
great.
to make armies out of them, Eric. You had to be very careful and not jiggle the table.
Oh yeah, a little wind would just knock them down. I was like, well, they
But
looked so great in the picture. Well, it wasn't a picture; it was a drawing. They looked so great.
I had the real Green Army men. I had an army of Germans. I had the Fort Navarone set. I had a bunch of tanks. And by the time I was in late elementary school, I was been introduced to hex encountered war games. So I didn't realize miniature war games were a thing. So me and a friend, we figured out our own little war game with our Green Army men and fought a few battles. And then, but shit got lost in the yard, and we didn't know half of the things we do, like measuring things properly. And but we took a stab at it, and it was fun.
All this talk about toys and games reminds me of them. Believe it or not, I'm bringing it back to D&D here.
My
Lego, I
heart
guess.
be still.
Lego did a study years ago on, this is a controversial topic, gender differences in play,
Okay.
with Legos and Friends line and all that stuff. And basically what they determined was that boys, and we all understand this just when I say it, boys want to be the character. Boys want to be Batman. Whereas the girls would want Batman to be like them, playing with them in their world. Whereas we want to be Batman in his world. That's the biggest difference. And I think when you look at that in terms of the latest direction comics and D&D has gone, a lot of these modules that they're coming out with, or adventure, what they call them now, adventures. I mean, they come out with an adventure about a fucking coffee shop. That's where people who like to go to coffee shops think I'm going to bring D&D into my world versus, us playing, I'm going to be this badass fighter kicking, Orcus's ass, right? You
Yeah.
want to be your character. And I think that really explains a lot when the game has changed their focus based on who's writing it or who they're writing it for.
Well, I don't think it's a change in focus. It's just including that audience has always been there. I've run. It's very, very. Got to understand. This is very, very infrequent. But I have run to small pockets over the decades I've been doing this. The small pockets who it wasn't a coffee shop, but it was something similar. More mundane than you otherwise expect.
Hmm.
And they rarely ever use D&D. They would use like RuneQuest or
Yeah, yeah.
some or GURPS. A lot. It happened a lot in the '80s,
God.
and uh, but it's always been there. Now it's just the biggest company in the role playing world is now we're directly supporting them.
Yeah, and
But
not only supporting them, their focus is on that kind of shit in a lot of ways. It seems it's the female influence is great in Wizards of the Coast nowadays for D&D. And that's why a lot of us old timers look back at this thing and say, "What the fuck is this? How is this D&D?
well, I'll
How
tell
I would never
I'll,
want to be this guy kicking ass in a coffee shop for somebody
my
rip me
advice
off for
to
short
them.
change."
My advice I learned through hard experience is that you have to focus on both. If you want to cover the bases, you need to focus. You can't go one. You can't make one exclusive of the other. It has to be. It has to be a balance.
I think this is another reason why comics are failing, though. You're writing the stories that comics is a boy thing. I mean, it always has been, right? And I know some girls have always read comics, and
That
there's always exceptions, and you're going to bring them up right now. However,
Right.
predominantly, comics have been a boys' thing.
you
Predominantly,
didn't you haven't encountered the My Little Lulu and Casper the
I'm talking
Ghost.
about the comics industry, Rob. I'm talking
superhero
about
comics.
They are
look
part
at
of the comics
look.
industry.
I'm talking about not the exception to the rule, but generally
They're
speaking,
not
more.
Archie.
Uh,
There's a whole
it's
bunch of
Rob, more boys by
superhero comics.
huge percentage. More boys
Well, no,
bought
no, hold on.
comics.
No, Joe, I'm going to say something here.
Hmm.
Archie Comics was huge,
Hmm.
but the buyers were mostly girls.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't too many guys
I'm
buying
not
it.
talking about Archie. I'm
I
talking
know.
about
When you're talking comics, you got to be
yeah.
clear. You're talking superhero comics,
yeah.
right?
You're
I'm
right
talking.
on superhero comics, but they're
Put it
not.
All right.
this way. Put
The
it this way.
superhero comics are not the only part of the comics industry.
But it's the
Right,
part
right.
that makes
Now,
the
that's
most
why
money.
I was trying to. I know how Joe thinks, and he was
Hmm.
doing a shortcut, and I know how Rob thinks. Rob does not do shortcuts.
No.
They were not meeting here, and that's why I had to get Joe to break it down
Hmm.
to we're talking superheroes,
Yeah.
right? We're talking superhero comics.
Even further, Eric. I'm talking about looking the who. If you tracked people who walked into a comic book store over the last 70 years, whatever since they've been open, however long they've been open for, if you tracked the boy to girl ratio who walked into a comic book store, I wouldn't doubt it's 80% boy.
All right, no, here,
Yeah, but Archie comics are generally not sold at comic book stores.
right? They aren't. They're just But here's the thing, Joe. You got to change your way you're qualifying this.
Mhm.
When you're talking about people walking in, you're talking about people who walk in by themselves.
Mhm.
Because the majority of the women that are walking into a comic book store, at least when I was collecting comic books, and then you'd go on discount books out in Jackson Heights, used to be where you go for your weekly comic book bag. They'd hold your bag for you to order it, and you'd get there, and you knew when the comic books were going to be there. And I don't recall ever seeing a girl, teen, young woman, grandma buying comics at discount books. And I was there way too often. That's where I got some of my D&D books.
Mhm.
But you always saw the geeks, the gooks,
Yeah.
the guys that liked reading comic books. You didn't
Yeah.
see. Now, I'm not saying that women didn't read it,
Yeah.
but it didn't
I'm
have
just saying by far a
right.
huge predominance. It was male. That's
No,
my point.
no. See, back in 1969, Archie was the #1 comic sold.
Superhero comics, Rob.
Yeah.
Not talking. Not
Yeah.
talking.
All right, if it's superhero comics, then you're right. It is
Yeah.
predominantly male.
It's the only ones that matter.
I got to
Fuck cares
keep on
about Archie.
correcting Joe.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
A world
Eric,
beyond
you're saying
superhero
it's the
comics.
only one that matters.
Yeah. To me. That's all that matters.
So I mean,
And this is
now,
why, because I was saying this to lead to a point of this is why the Marvel movies are failing now as well, right? The Marvel and DC universe, they're not creating good comics anymore. We're jumping back to that point because they don't have good creators anymore because they are taking superhero comics, predominantly a male thing, and making them bitchy, stupid, wussy. You know what I mean? They're not serving their standard audience. They're trying to broaden their audience when superhero comics are a male thing. That's why the movies suck, I think.
All right. Well, here then I'm going to ask a question because I'm going to say like DC in my experience had Wonder Woman is probably the second most powerful hero in the DC universe. If you
Yeah.
depending on how they're writing Green Lantern at the time, right? Depending on, but
Best boobs too.
all right. Well, but you take Wonder Woman. You take the first Wonder Woman movie. It was very good. It was so good that when I took my niece, and she was, I think, 5, maybe 6.
I loved it. Yeah.
You know what my niece said to me? Uncle, we got to go. Why? This movie is too violent for me, and I don't think it's appropriate. God bless her.
Yeah.
I was pissed because I paid for these wonderful seats, and and I said, "Can you at least finish your popcorn?" She's like, "All right." And then she's like, "Uncle, we got to go. It's too violent." Why was it too violent? Because it was set during what, World War I?
What, 2?
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was set during one of the world wars, and it had that. I forgive me if I'm wrong. It had that war energy going, so it had stuff that could appeal to men and women. Didn't appeal to Shannon, and I thought it would. It's a woman superhero. Now we'll flash ahead to Wonder Woman 2, the second movie, which I saw, and it sucked. Now I still think the actress in the role is a perfect for the role. She does it well.
Oh yeah, she's great. Gal Gadot.
It changed the dynamics to a movie that I didn't like. Rach walked away. She put her headphones on and like half an hour into it, and then brought up her phone and was watching like makeup videos or whatever the hell she does when I watch the shit that she doesn't want to watch. And I couldn't finish it because it was no longer trying to appeal to both sexes. It was appealing to neither one. You know, and that is a shame because I think that's one of the stronger characters that DC has written properly and done properly.
Agreed. They could all be done well. I mean, look at Aquaman is going to bomb now too. Fucking Aquaman with Jason Momoa, for God's sakes. There's other issues there. I mean, they know that they're rebooting the entire DCU again. So why watch the last movie in a shit universe? I guess, but
yeah.
That's other factors. I mean, the Amber Heard thing didn't help either. People just boycotted because of her.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Ben Affleck made a much better Batman than I fucking ever expected.
Oh yeah, I would never have seen that. I'm one of the few people who liked him in Daredevil, though. I liked that movie. I thought it was pretty fucking good. I gotta say, nobody else really liked it. I know. I thought it was good though.
I mean, as Batman, and especially an older Batman, I was like, wow, he pulls this shit off. I mean, I could see him in The Dark Knight. If they turned the Dark Knight graphic novel into a movie or a movie series, he would play that role perfectly. But, you know, they get nervous doing a lot of stuff like that because like the Batman movies are too dark as seen by a lot.
How many R movies do you see out anymore? I mean, and a superhero R movie, forget about it. They'll never do that.
Well, Daredevil, Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool. That's barely a superhero. It's in the genre, but it's not. You know, I'm looking forward to that. I would like to see somebody fucking get whoever owns the Conan property. I want to see a good Conan show, even a series. You know, I mean, Schwarzenegger did the best.
Is working on one.
Amazon was, and then some dude got Me Too'd who was in charge of it, and he got sent to the fucking woodshed, and a woman took over, and next thing you know, I don't know, Conan was going to be swinging flower petals. I don't know. The whole thing went to shit, you know, so it just went and nothing happened. They canceled the whole Conan thing.
Well, Conan is going to become public domain in unequivocally public domain in 2028.
Really? No shit.
Some parts of it already are.
Well, look at the Mickey Mouse. The Steamboat Willie is now public domain or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
No. We got 8 more days.
Oh, okay. All right. It's coming, though. It's coming.
January 1st. Steamboat Willie, the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse will become public domain.
I don't think David is saying the Reacher actor for the Conan role. I think he's a good character actor in a Reacher, but Conan, I don't think he could pull off the savage of Conan. He can't pull off the battle rage or fury of Conan. He can't pull off the badassery, the primal essence of
All
Conan.
right. So
I cannot
No.
imagine that actor, even as built as he is, with long hair, looking like
Yeah,
a Sumerian barbarian. I can't.
yeah.
It doesn't work.
But
I don't either.
you know who he could play?
Who?
Solomon Kane.
I could see that.
I could see that. He would slip right into that
Yeah.
role.
Yep. I could definitely see that.
I could see that really. But and by the way, I gotta say, Reacher is a series that I didn't expect to see.
Me either. Yeah, me either. I enjoyed it. I think Matt was
And
talking about it.
How is Tom Cruise as Reacher? He did a Reacher movie once.
He's a fucking
Yeah.
midget Reacher. How could Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
he's 5 foot nothing, be Reacher? You know?
well,
It just-
they had to film everything with him, like
yeah.
right on a proper angle. This guy is much better as Reacher. But what I like about Reacher is you've got strong male characters and strong female characters. Everybody stands on their own, and
Yes.
there is if there's a male character saving a female character from getting her ass handed to her, then in a later scene it's going to get reversed, and it's a nice balance, and the characters are believable. I don't have to go into it and go, oh, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
It's like, no, all right, I can actually believe some of this shit, which is another rarity, because a lot of times when it comes to, especially when it comes to a lot of these on-demand series, they cheap out and they kind of go with the, well, you know what, the audience is going to want to buy in, so we'll just let them buy in, and if they buy in, we don't have to worry about all these details. Whereas with Reacher, I mean, the details are spot on.
Yep.
And again, the characters are all identifiable and likable. There's nothing that you kind of go, just wash that one off.
I think that even a better series is an older one, but it's the best military kind of series like Reacher, but two special forces guys, and well done in terms of they had special forces consultants training these people to move correctly and shoot correctly and do everything correctly, and their missions were not Rambo over the top. They got real. It was Strike Back. It was on Cinemax.
Strike Back on Cinemax.
Amazing series. I loved it.
I didn't catch the last season.
Oh, didn't you? Yeah. Oh, they're good, man. They're really good.
I forget what on-demand service had it for a while. It might have been Netflix. I preferred it when the sex scenes started getting toned down a little bit, because when I was saying you had the obligatory sex scene.
Always, yeah. But he got laid. One of them got laid every series. Yeah.
But they killed off characters that were they were main parts of the story, and all of a sudden it's like, oh.
Yeah, I can't believe they killed him. I can't believe they killed her. Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. And at the end, there was just the two guys left, Wow. Yeah, it was something else.
I'm going to have to rewatch that.
I am rewatching now. My brother and my nephew. We're having a good time watching it. I got to say, it's a good show. My nephew likes Reacher better, I think, because it's more over the top action. But Strike Back is far more accurate. You're not going to see ridiculous things in Strike Back. You're going to see shit that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it was really done. I found it right after I retired, and I was like binge watching it.
Yeah, and yet you still haven't watched The Wire, have you? I've been telling you for 10 fucking years.
I'm in the last season.
Oh,
The Wire is excellent, Eric. You're missing out.
I know. I've been telling you for 10 years. Literally 10 years, motherfucker.
Where's it on? Amazon or Netflix or HBO?
HBO Max. It was their show.
No,
Eric, it's one of the top 5 series ever made of all time, in my opinion. All time. Any genre.
All right, so going back a while then, did you watch Homicide: Life on the Streets back when it was on? All right.
I remember it being on, but I never watched it.
All right. Homicide: Life on the Streets, I think it's 4 seasons. The first 3 seasons, it's Baltimore PD. The first 3 seasons are probably the best cop show ever. And I watched it all before I became a cop.
Was it a documentary, though? It was a real series?
Series.
The way it was advertised, Homicide: Life on the Streets, I thought it was like one of those, cops ride-along shows.
No.
You know what I mean? I didn't know it was a series.
No, it was a series. And the characters. What's his name? Okay, Mr. Luthor. Nick Beatty
Oh yeah, yeah,
was in the series, and
yeah.
he was very believable as a detective. Especially as I got on the
Ned
job.
Oh, the
Beatty.
guy, that's the one that had the
Yeah.
Law and Order guy part of it.
Right. Yes.
Richard
He was.
Belzer.
Yeah. He was on. Supposedly, he was transferred. There's no transfer between
Mm.
jurisdictions, especially outside of different states. But whatever, it works in a fictitious world.
Man,
But
you'll like it, Eric.
Anyway,
I'm
Eric,
telling you.
you owe yourself to watch The
I
Wire.
agree.
all right, all right.
When me and Rob agree, Eric, that is convergence. All right, that rarely happens in anything ever. All right, the universe might collapse
I'm gonna
now
do
if
my
you don't watch
impression
it.
Here's
of the
the thing. Here's
screen.
the cool thing about it. So the first season, you might be a little bit lost because they hit you hard with everything.
Yeah.
But they don't stick with quite the same thing each season. They
It's a new thing.
explore different parts of Baltimore,
Yep.
but you still got the core group going through there.
Yep.
And then by the time of the fifth season, you got this huge, very rich tapestry. It's just unbelievable.
All right.
Fifth was the worst in my opinion, the newspaper-based one, but I thought it was excellent overall. I thought it was very, very good. I was very, it's one of those things I got to go back and watch again. I probably haven't seen it in 5 years either. But it's good. I would watch it every couple
Yeah,
of
but
years.
the newspaper one has the Carcetti dealing with the aftermath of his election and the shit sandwich he was handed.
I love that, but the bowl. With the bowl, here's a bowl full of shit. Eat some more, eat some more, eat some more. That whole analogy, it's like, yep, that sums it up, man. Anybody who works in public service.
So at first I had a hard time thinking, equating him with Littlefinger, and cause that's what
yes.
follow the actor. But Carcetti seems like to be the real deal. He's just been handed a ship, a bowl full of shit.
That's funny because when I saw Littlefinger, I'm like, that's the mayor of Baltimore. I knew him before that, I didn't know he has a great acting range. He was a good actor. Eric, like I said, when me and Rob agree on something, Eric, it's a sign from the gods. You really do. Sit down with Rachel, watch this shit. It's good.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
4 seasons, 10 episodes in each season, I think, an hour each, right, Rob? I mean, it's not bad.
It's about 12 to 13 episodes per season.
Is it? Okay.
But yeah, and here's the thing, Eric. Each episode feels like a really satisfying meal.
Yeah.
And the neat thing is, they never dwell. I mean, within each episode, it's terse. It's the perfect terseness on television.
Okay.
I don't understand, but it's like scenes just don't drag.
Yeah. It's so well written. The characters, the dialogue, Jesus Christ.
All right, so I got a question for the two of you. Is this like our Seinfeld episode of the live stream? The episode about nothing and everything?
Kind of was. It kind of was.
We touched on a lot of bases. Wow.
But all of the theme? Geekery. All geekery.
But who binged on us? Oh man, I can binge, but I don't know. The Wire, I couldn't binge. I mean, it was just too much.
Here's the thing with The Wire: you don't want to binge. You want to watch it and take your time. It's like a fine meal.
Yeah, you got to savor it.
Exactly, you really do. I would watch 1 or 2 episodes a night, Eric. The most. Don't go nuts on a weekend.
Right.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it, Rach. I think you'll both enjoy it. You're far enough from being a cop now. It's been enough years that it won't give you like PTSD or remind you having to go to work the next day or something. I think you probably got enough distance from being a cop that you could probably enjoy it at this point without it saying.
I think you would enjoy third season in particular, Eric.
Which one was that, Rob?
That's the Amsterdam.
Yes, that was good. That was good.
I can see yourself doing a bunch of what ifs, enjoyable what ifs in your head as a result of that season.
See, there was a cop. Oh man, there was a movie. I don't know, a year or two out, and I caught it on demand. I don't know. This is like right after COVID, when nothing stayed in the theaters for long.
Yeah.
And it opened up with, from my own personal point of view, probably I wish I could remember the name of it, the most upsetting scenes from a cop's perspective and watching cops get basically executed that
Jeez.
I actually have told Rachel, I got to pause this and step away for a bit. I was
Yeah.
like, because it was a very emotional thing, but I know The Wire I've heard so much good about. All right, I'll have to do it.
And here's the kicker: the number of action scenes in The Wire is virtually nil.
Yeah.
That's what makes it even more amazing.
Yeah.
Really? All
Yep.
right.
Yeah. It's
All
not
right.
a typical cop drama, Eric, at all.
All
At
right.
all.
That's
Yeah.
cool. All right, so I think we should wrap up this
Yeah.
our unofficial Seinfeld ode to Seinfeld.
Yeah.
You
We
thought,
did good tonight.
you thought Jerry. You thought they were all gone. Yes,
We
I'm
got to
sorry.
end on a point with me and Rob agreeing on something. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
know?
we're never gonna pass it.
It's the Christmas season.
It is.
End on a good note.
It's a gift from our house to yours. Folks, if you've got one of the prizes, or I shouldn't say prizes, one of the gifts from OSR Christmas, I'll try to go through it tomorrow during some downtime. Rich and I are doing the
I
Christmas
sent you the
dinner.
link to the discount to my discount.
I saw that. Yep.
Okay.
So we're at my sister's. My sister's doing Christmas Eve. We're doing Connecticut for Christmas morning.
Oh,
Coming back. Oh yeah, we always go to my in-laws out in Connecticut for
Okay.
breakfast. We bring New York bagels.
Nice. Nice.
And then we're gonna have to come back from that and get right to finishing off all the dinner prep, which means we got to actually do all the dinner prep and Christmas Eve tomorrow. No, day after tomorrow. Whatever. It's going to be a busy weekend. So if you don't see much of me besides coming on for a quick video and dropping off, you know why.
Mhm.
But Christmas Day, come shine or flood or any of that stuff, on the blog side, 10carstavern.com, we have in print a Glynn Seal bundle. I believe Glynn ships anywhere in the world. We have an Arduin bundle, physical, like $150 value. That only ships US. But if you want to be involved Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, pop in, say hello on the blog, get into the mix. It's a season to give gifts.
The blog, huh? You're bringing
The
back the blog. Jesus
not
Christ.
not the blog.
Jesus Christ.
All right, folks. On that note, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All your holidays, whatever you do.
All right. Later.